Divine Revelation, 3 supernatural events confirmed by Jesus before 2026. A Miraculous NDE. In a quaint English village, nestled among the rolling hills, the air was filled with whispers of divine intervention. Margaret, a devoted mother, believed that God would save her son, Jacob, lost in addiction. Each Sunday, she filled the little chapel with her warm smile and faithful prayers. As she knelt before the altar adorned with flowers, the sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows painted the wooden pews in vibrant hues, creating a sacred tapestry of hope and despair. But doubt loomed heavy in the hearts of her neighbors. They lit candles before St. Jude, their murmurs fueling despair. "He is a lost cause," they said. Yet Margaret remained steadfast, gathering the community to pray for Jacob, lighting a candle for every whispered prayer. All seemed dim when Jacob spiraled further into the abyss, his life a shadowy reflection of the love his mother bore for him. Then one cold, dreary night, when hope seemed all but extinguished, Jacob teetered on the brink of death. In that suspended moment, he encountered a radiant figure surrounded by blinding light. In that divine space, 3 supernatural truths from Jesus pierced through the darkness of his struggles, igniting his soul with hope and promise of restoration by 2026. The first revealed love that never abandoned him, the second spoke of redemption, the chance to reclaim his future, and the third whispered of miracles waiting to unfold. As Jacob awoke, his heart filled with a flicker of faith, a truth he could scarcely believe, slipping back into a world of skepticism. His community questioned the reality of his experience, sparking heated debates that threatened to tear the fabric of their beliefs apart. Some looked upon him with awe, while others doubted, whispering tales of madness, cutting into Margaret's spirit. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the very chapel where prayers had danced through the air, a fervent gathering took place. The atmosphere changed, an electric anticipation coursed through the believers. The walls seemed to pulse with faith as they petitioned the heavens. Then, a miraculous healing unfolded right before their gazes. An elderly man, bedridden for years, suddenly rose, vibrant and alive. Tears streamed down faces. A chorus of praises rang out, shattering doubt like glass. As the whispers turned into shouts of joy, Margaret felt an indescribable peace. Something awakened in her heart. But lingering questions danced in her mind. Could Jacob's revelations be real? Together, the community found themselves anchored in prayer once more, the flames of their candles flickering in joyous resonance. The glimmer of hope ignited a hunger to understand deeper faith, leaving them all yearning for the next step in their spiritual journey. What did it truly mean to believe? With hearts flung wide open, the village stood at the precipice of their faith, waiting expectantly for the miraculous, hungry for the unfolding of divine promises. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, the little chapel buzzed with newfound energy. The villagers felt an undeniable shift. Something extraordinary was happening among them. Yet their hearts were still gripped by questions that begged for answers. Jacob's experience had ignited a spark, but doubt still hovered like morning mist, veiling the brilliance of belief. Margaret observed her community with a mixture of hope and concern. Her neighbors' faces were uplifted, their spirits lifted by the miraculous healing witnessed just weeks prior. But she saw the flickers of uncertainty in their eyes. They wanted to believe but needed reassurance. One sunny afternoon, as the villagers gathered for their weekly meeting outside the chapel, a gentle breeze carried the sound of rustling leaves and distant laughter. Jacob, now a walking testimony of divine grace, stood before them. Although he still wrestled with his past, he sensed a rising tide of faith around him. "I know many of you have prayed for me," he began, his voice steady but laced with emotion. "You've seen how darkness can grip a life. But I stand here, not because I'm worthy, but because it's God's mercy that brought me back to you." The murmurs stopped, and all eyes were glued to him. "I encountered Jesus, my friends. His love broke the chains that bound me. I was lost, but I felt him in that moment an embrace that promised hope like I'd never known. As Jacob spoke, his heart stirred again at the memory of the radiant figure. Tears formed in the corners of Margaret's eyes as she absorbed each word. She wanted to believe fully, yet an unseen shadow of doubt pressed at the edges of her joy. I wish I could show you the light that flooded my soul, Jacob continued, his enthusiasm building. Jesus spoke 3 wonders to me. He promised us love that never departs, redemption that calls us home, and the miracles that await our faith. The village fell into a deep silence, absorbing his revelations. The tension of uncertainty lightened, even if just a bit. Then, someone in the crowd broke the stillness, an elderly woman, her voice trembling with emotion. But Jacob, how can we be sure? What if you're mistaken? He met her gaze, his heart full of compassion. I understand your concern. What you need to know is that faith is not about certainty. It's about stepping into the unknown. It's a journey we take together. His words resonated with the crowd, igniting flickers of understanding among them. Every miracle brings the chance for doubt or faith, Jacob added, his eyes gleaming. This is not just my experience, it's a call for us all. Your prayers matter, even when life seems hopeless. When I look at each of you, I see a piece of His grace. The villagers exchanged glances, nodding knowingly, as if they had collectively unwrapped a cherished gift. Slowly, encouragement replaced skepticism. The light of shared belief started to shine brightly anew. Margaret, filled with a renewed sense of purpose, took a deep breath and spoke from her heart. If God can pull Jacob from the depths, then surely He can revive our faith too. Let us embrace this moment and step into the light He offers. And just like that, the villagers found their voices again, united in prayer and anticipation. They longed for deeper encounters with the divine as they stood together on the cusp of a miraculous journey. But what magnificent wonders awaited them next? Could their gathered faith unveil even greater mysteries? The warmth of the sun bathed the villagers in golden light as they stood together, hearts beating as one. There was a tangible shift in the air, almost electric with excitement and hope. Jacob's testimony had sown a seed, and Margaret could feel it flourishing all around her. The moment felt sacred. It was as if the chapel itself had been infused with a new spirit, beckoning them further into the divine mystery. Let us not just stop here, Jacob urged, his voice rising above the soft whispers of the wind. We need to share this light. We must go beyond our doubts and seek out the lost, just as we were found. His words ignited a fire within each heart present, stoking the embers of faith that had lain dormant for too long. One by one, villagers began to speak, sharing their own struggles and hopes. An old man recalled the nights he spent alone, wrestling with fear, only to feel comfort in prayer. A mother spoke of her child's illness, how despair had once hung over her, but now she saw a glimmer of healing, a flicker of faith gradually growing with each day. With every story that was shared, the collective belief blossomed like wildflowers in spring, vibrant and full of life. Margaret listened intently, her heart swelling with gratitude. She felt the weight of her doubts lifting, replaced by a joyous anticipation. They had come together in search of miracles, but what they discovered was so much more, a community bound not just by shared pain, but by a collective desire for faith and healing. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows around them, Jacob remembered something Jesus had said on that transformative day. He closed his eyes, allowing the memory to unfold within him. He told me that faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. We may be small, but together, our faith can create ripples beyond what we imagine. His words mingled with the rustling leaves, and the crowd felt a stirring, an almost palpable conviction. Margaret felt her spirit soar. Perhaps it was not just her surroundings that were destined for change, perhaps their revived faith would reach others, drawing them into this miraculous experience. Suddenly, a young girl ran into the clearing, breathless with joy. Come! You want to believe it? The river! It's shimmering! She pointed toward the brook beyond the chapel, her eyes wide with wonder. The villagers exchanged curious glances, a collective instinct drawing them toward the source of her excitement. As they approached the water, gasps escaped their lips. The sunlight danced across the surface like a celestial canvas, and it seemed to glow with an ethereal light. Jacob knelt beside the bank, dipping his fingers into the current. "You see? God is revealing himself in ways we've yet to understand," he whispered, awe in his voice. Margaret fixed her gaze on the water, feeling a wave of peace washing over her. Every ripple seemed to resonate with a promise that they were on the brink of something extraordinary. Could this shimmering revelation be the start of something wondrous? Would their faith unleash divine demonstrations in this very place? Their hearts brimmed with excitement, united in the expectation that miracles were not just possible, but imminent. But as they lingered by the sparkling brook, a question hovered in the air: what hidden wonders lay just beneath the surface, waiting for them to immerse themselves fully in faith. The air buzzed with anticipation, and the villagers found themselves drawn ever closer to the shimmering waters. Their eyes sparkled with hope, mirroring the ripples that danced under the sun. Margaret, heart aflame with faith, leaned closer, almost entranced by the sight. It felt as if each drop of water spoke, whispering secrets of the divine. As they knelt by the riverbank, Jacob raised his arms. "Let us pray together. Let us ask for God's presence among us." His voice resonated, carrying their words to the heavens. In that moment, heads bowed and hands joined, they formed a chain of warmth, their collective faith merging into a radiant offering. Margaret closed her eyes, feeling the cool breeze brush against her skin, like a loving touch from above. "Lord, reveal what is hidden under the surface. Show us the paths we should walk." The prayer unfolded, rising like incense, swirling upward to meet heaven. Then came a soft rumble from the brook. The waters began to swirl, twisting and turning as if guided by unseen hands. Gasps erupted from the crowd. "Look!" a voice called out, pointing as small orbs of light emerged from the depths. They danced above the surface, reflecting the sun like tiny stars come to spoil the earth. Some villagers stepped back, awe pinned on their faces. But not Margaret. Courage ignited within her. "God is speaking!" she exclaimed. "Can you feel it? His presence is here." The floating lights began to align, forming a radiant arch above the brook. Jacob, eyes wide with wonder, urged the villagers closer. "Do not be afraid. This is what faith looks like. This is our reward." The girl who had run to gather them stood beside Margaret, her mouth agape, entranced by the spectacle above. "They look like angels," she whispered, and the villagers around her murmured in agreement. Each soft glow seemed to beckon them closer to the divine. In this moment of revelation, a gentle hush filled the air. The bubbling water, the rustling trees, even the distant chirping of birds blended into a sacred symphony. It was as if all of creation joined them in witness. Margaret felt a warmth envelop her heart, wrapping her in assurance and joy. Suddenly, the air shifted once more. A low, melodic voice emerged from the glowing orbs. "Fear not, little flock, for you are chosen," it intoned softly, reverberating through every spirit present. Each word fell like honey on their ears, sweetening their resolve. Bursts of realization swept through the crowd. Everyone felt it, a call to journeys unknown, ventures of faith woven into their lives. Jacob raised his voice, fueled by this divine affirmation. "We are being reminded of our purpose. We are vessels of His light." As the last syllable echoed, the lights began to dissolve, twinkling like stars fading at dawn. Margaret's heart raced with the understanding that this was just the beginning. Though the church bells rang from afar, signaling twilight, a new day flickered on the horizon of their faith. Yet shadows lingered among the villagers, whispers of doubt in the back of their minds. Why had this sliver of light appeared now? What were they meant to do with this divine revelation? The question stirred, but deep within them, they felt an inescapable pull toward a greater story yet to unfold. "Let us walk together in this newfound faith," Jacob said. "We can't ignore the signs. Let us seek the meaning behind what we witnessed today." With each step back toward the chapel, Margaret felt her spirit urged onward, glancing back at the water that had just revealed glimpses of the profound. But what awaited them on their journey? What further wonders would challenge and transform their faith in the days to come? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the village as the worshippers trudged back toward the chapel. Their hearts were heavy, yet their spirits flickered with a rising tide of hope. Margaret could feel the weight of their uncertainty settling among them like an uninvited guest. She turned to Jacob, whose usually steady demeanor reflected the doubts creeping into their group. "What do we do now?" she whispered, her voice trembling with anxiety. Jacob paused, glancing at the fading lights in the water, a reminder of the divine whisper they had all heard. "What we witnessed today was only the first step," he replied, his tone steadier than before. "We must seek its meaning." As they entered the chapel, Margaret glanced around at her fellow villagers. Some were still lost in wonder, while others wore worried frowns. She sensed a yearning, a desire for answers, for clarity. "Let us gather together for prayer," Jacob called out, his voice firm with conviction. "We need to ask for guidance on the path ahead." They positioned themselves in a circle, hands clasped and hearts open. The air felt thicker, charged with expectancy. "Heavenly Father," Jacob led, his voice warm and steady, "we come to you as seekers. Show us the purpose of today's revelation. Fill us with courage to follow your call." The words hung in the air like sacred incense, spiraling upward. Margaret closed her eyes again, envisioning the radiant arch above the brook. She longed to understand what those lights had meant for them, for their little community. Suddenly, a gentle wind brushed through the open windows, sweeping around them like a soft embrace. There was a palpable shift, a quiet assurance that they were not alone. Then, from somewhere deeper within, Margaret felt a surge of inspiration bloom. "Jacob," she interrupted softly, "what if the lights were more than just a sign? What if they are guiding us to a larger purpose?" Jacob nodded, intrigue lighting up his expression. "What do you mean, Margaret?" "They came to us in our hour of need," she explained passionately, her heart racing with a new idea. "We should help those around us. The broken spirits in our village, those who feel alone. Maybe that is the challenge we are meant to fulfill." A murmur of agreement rippled through the circle. Encouraged, she continued, "What if we become vessels of light to others? We can organize gatherings, outreach, something that spreads the hope we felt today." Excitement sparked amongst the villagers. Jacob's eyes shone brightly. "Yes. We can use our testimonies from today to inspire those who have lost faith. We are a community. We have the strength together." Even in the backdrop of uncertainty, the room began to hum with ideas and hopeful chatter about how to bring love and faith to those in need. Margaret felt a rush of warmth fill her chest, the echoes of their prayers weaving a tapestry of connection. Yet, amid this newfound energy, a shadow flickered in the back of her mind. Was this merely an idealistic dream? Would they truly have the strength to carry out such a vision? As thoughts swirled, she remembered the words that had resonated from the lights, "You are chosen." Tears glistened in her eyes as she realized she was part of something greater. They were not alone in this endeavor, nor would they stand against it without help. The village, that small town full of hearts intertwined, would forge ahead. With each gentle laugh shared and every uplifting word spoken, she sensed that a stirring transformation had begun. However, the shadows remained, questions unanswered, lingering hesitations. As evening set in, silhouettes of faith began to stretch across the chapel, inviting yet intimidating. What awaited them as they ventured out to share this light? Would their newfound purpose fulfill the divine promise they had encountered by the brook? Only time, and their collective faith, would unveil the next chapter of their extraordinary journey forward, one illuminated by love and woven with devotion. The first rays of dawn broke over the village, painting the sky with soft pastel colors. Margaret awoke, with a heart full of hope but also a sense of purpose. The memories of the previous day danced in her mind, the divine lights, the swirling wind, and the united spirits of the villagers. A feeling of responsibility washed over her, as she understood that they were called to action. As she walked toward the chapel, the air felt alive with anticipation. Villagers were already gathering, their faces infused with a contagious enthusiasm. Jacob, standing at the entrance, donned a broad smile. "Today is the day we begin to step into our calling," he exclaimed, his excitement contagious. Margaret joined the group forming inside the chapel, where the echoes of laughter and chatter intertwined, a symphony of joy interlaced with a shared mission. It was as if the very walls were rejoicing at the purpose that had taken root among them. We all felt the stirrings in our hearts, Jacob began, gathering everyone's attention. From those light-filled moments, we heard a call to reach out to our neighbors, to those who feel lost. Let us share our experiences and think of how we can spread this light. I saw those lights as a healing balm, called out Sarah, a gentle soul known for her quiet strength. We must go to the nursing home, offer companionship to the lonely. They need our warmth. I know a family struggling nearby, David chimed in. The mother is ill, and the children are frightened. We could bring meals, maybe even comfort them with songs or stories of faith. Their ideas flowed like a river, strengthening the very fabric of their community, as new life poured from their hearts. Each suggestion felt like a new thread woven into the grand design they were beginning to see. Margaret felt the joy swell within her, urging her to contribute. We can gather every week, she proposed, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. Let us not only help but also win people's hearts back to hope. We can invite them to our chapel too. Let them see our light, our love. As the villagers embraced her vision, a hush fell over the group. They joined hands once more, and Jacob led them in prayer. Lord, we ask for your guidance as we take these steps forward. Give us strength and clarity. Allow us to be vessels of your infinite love. In that moment of collective prayer, a stunning tranquility enveloped them. It was each whisper, each heartbeat, unified in purpose, a sense of divine presence wrapping around them like an embrace from heaven. Just then, a child's laughter bubbled up from outside, breaking the stillness. It was little Ruth, her bright eyes shining with innocence. She spotted them through the chapel window. In her hand was a dandelion, its fluffy seeds waiting to be scattered. Look! She shouted with glee. The flowers are here. They're ready to bloom. Margaret's breath caught in her throat. Hope blossomed in Ruth's outburst, reminding her of fleeting beauty and the promise of new beginnings in even the smallest things. What if they too were like those dandelions, ready to spread their seeds of faith upon the winds? The group erupted in encouragement, inspiration transforming their plans into actions. Outside, they gathered supplies, baking goods and gathering singing voices, ready to step into the world beyond their chapel walls. But as they prepared to head out on their mission of love, an inner stirring rippled through the air. A whisper of fear tugged at Margaret's heart. Were they truly ready? Would they be met with acceptance or resistance? As the sunlight illuminated their journey ahead, the shadows of uncertainty still loomed, threatening to dim the growing light. And yet, something profound lay ahead of them, just beyond what the human eye could perceive. What awaited them beyond their first act of love? Would their efforts lead to unforeseen encounters of grace? The adventure was just beginning, and in the quiet corners of their hearts, they felt the divine stirring, ready for a revelation that could transform everything. With their hearts interwoven in unity, the villagers filed out of the chapel and into the vibrant world beyond. As they stepped into the sunlit day, Margaret felt her spirit lifting, despite the lingering whispers of doubt. She glanced at her companions, feeling the warmth radiate from their shared purpose. Let us go forth with joyful hearts, Jacob declared, leading the way down the cobbled path. His voice sang with hope, echoing in the stillness of the morning. Each step felt like a promise, a commitment to shine their light into the corners of darkness. The first stop was the nursing home. As they approached, Margaret noticed the serene faces of the elderly residents, smiles slowly blooming as they recognized the visitors. The air was thick with expectation, palpable as the fragrance of spring flowers. Remember, each of us carries a piece of light, Jacob reminded them, as they spread out throughout the common room. Even the simplest act of kindness reflects his love. Sarah, with her gentle demeanor, approached a frail woman seated alone. Hello there. My name is Sarah. What's your favorite song? She asked, kneeling beside her. The woman's eyes brightened, and a smile broke through the weariness. Oh, my dear, I love Abide With Me. As Sarah began to sing softly, others joined in, their voices rising and intertwining into a beautiful melody. Laughter mixed with song, filling the room with warmth and drawing more residents into the shared moment. Margaret's heart overflowed. Here was a glimpse of heaven, a moment crafted by hands of grace. Nearby, David was distributing homemade cookies, his bright smile igniting joy in every interaction. "These are made with love," he said, watching the residents' smiles grow with each taste. Then Margaret spotted a corner of the room where a man sat in quiet despair, his gaze lost somewhere beyond the walls. She felt a pull, a divine nudge urging her closer. "Hello, sir," she said softly, settling beside him. "My name is Margaret. Would you like to talk?" He turned to her, and she saw sadness etched on his face. "I've lost my wife. It feels like the light has gone from my life," he murmured. Her heart ached for him. "I can't pretend to know the depth of your sorrow. But I believe there is still hope, still light waiting to be discovered. Would you mind if I prayed with you?" He nodded slowly, and they clasped hands. As she prayed, she felt a warm presence envelop them, filling the space with divine comfort. It was as if the Holy Spirit wrapped around them, uniting their hearts in a moment of profound connection. Tears welled in the man's eyes, and as they opened, his expression had shifted. "Thank you, I can feel a flicker of hope." Margaret's soul soared. The power of vulnerability and faith transformed the air around them. In that moment, they shared an encounter that transcended words, grief giving way to light, pain opening a door to healing. As the day continued, laughter and music resonated throughout the halls, community blossoming in ways they could hardly have imagined. Each interaction, each embrace, became a thread weaving them into the tapestry of something much larger. Though Margaret felt a rush of joy, the shadows of uncertainty still flickered in her mind. Would this newfound light persist beyond this beautiful day? What could lie ahead for each soul they had touched? And then, just as dusk began to hint its arrival, a stranger walked into their path. An aura of mystery surrounded him, and the air shifted. "Are you the one spreading light here?" he asked, his voice deep and resonant, sending ripples of intrigue through the group. All eyes turned toward him, as anticipation hung thick with unspoken questions. What did he know? Was he part of their unfolding story, or a new chapter awaiting to be written? With hearts racing, Margaret and her companions stood at the edge of revelation, poised for something extraordinary. What message would this mysterious visitor bring? Would he alter their destined journey towards grace? The stranger's presence seemed to draw the very essence of curiosity from the villagers. His eyes sparkled with an otherworldly light, piercing into their souls, prompting both anxiety and anticipation. Jacob stepped forward, sensing the weight of this encounter. "Yes, we are," he replied, his voice steady. "What brings you to us?" The man paused, studying each face before he responded. "I have traveled far and wide, and I've heard of your light spreading in the shadows. I'm here on a mission, a divine mission." Margaret's heart raced. There was something familiar about him, a resonance of truth behind his words that sparked hope deep within her. "What do you mean?" she asked, driven by the need to understand the importance of this moment. "I carry a message," he said, his voice warm like a spring breeze. "It is a call to action, a reminder of the grace that flows through every act of love and kindness. Your work today is just the beginning." The group exchanged glances, their spirits ignited by his words. The elderly residents, now gathering at the edges of the room, leaned in, captivated by his presence, drawn closer by an invisible thread of curiosity and hope. "God has plans for this community," he continued, "plans that will unfold in ways you cannot yet imagine. But you must remain steadfast, united in your love." Margaret wondered about the implications of this. What could God have in store for them? As excitement swirled within her, she struggled against the nervous flutter of doubt. Would they have the strength to face what lay ahead? "Are you saying we will be tested?" David inquired, his brow furrowing in concern. "Every trial is an opportunity for growth, my friend," the man replied, his tone softened by understanding. "Embrace the changes. Each sun that rises will bring both challenges and blessings. Your light will guide many to a deeper understanding of love, healing, and community." Margaret felt the truth of his words resonate within her. It reminded her that faith often required stepping into the unknown with courage and trust. She looked around at her companions. Their expressions varied from curiosity to trepidation, but the common thread was unmistakable, an eagerness to follow this call. The stranger stepped closer, lowering his voice. Soon, you may witness a miracle, a moment that will cement your faith and change your community forever. Keep your hearts open and your spirits attuned. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange and purple glow across the sky, Margaret felt a shift. A blend of fear and thrill coursed through her veins. She realized the weight of the moment, sensing a divine truth in the air. "What should we do?" Jacob asked, his eagerness surging. Margaret noticed the fervor in his eyes and felt her heart align with his. "Pray, love, and serve. Your actions will weave a tapestry of faith that others will seek. But remember, the journey may take unexpected turns. Fear not, trust in the whispers of the Holy Spirit." The man smiled, his aura glowing brighter. Before anyone could ask another question, he suddenly turned, moving away into the dusk as though they were parting mist. "Be ready!" he called back, a promise and a warning. The villagers stood in a stunned silence, their hearts racing with anticipation and wonder. Margaret felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. The stranger, a messenger perhaps, had ignited a fire within each of them. "What do you think it means?" Sarah finally asked, glancing around at her friends. "I don't know," Margaret replied, the sense of an impending shift swirling in her heart. "But it feels significant. Something beautiful is coming. I can feel it." The village hummed with energy, the air thick with possibility. As they began to disperse, knowing a new path lay ahead, Margaret felt a gentle whisper inside her, urging her to remain open and faithful. What miraculous event awaited them? The night deepened, and as stars began to twinkle in the heavens above, she wondered, how far would their light travel? And what awaited them at the end of this extraordinary journey? The next morning dawned with a golden glow that spilled over the village, painting the rooftops in a warm embrace. Margaret awoke early, her heart fluttering with the energy of the stranger's visit. The words echoed in her mind, a call to action, a promise of a miracle, and the reminder that unity would be crucial. She slipped out of bed, her spirit buoyed by expectation. As the dew glistened on the grass, she joined the other villagers in the square. A sense of urgency hung in the air. Jacob, Sarah, and David stood together, their faces lit with fervor. "What do we do now?" David asked, his voice firm yet tinged with uncertainty. Margaret took a breath, grounding herself in prayer. "We start with what we know. Love and service. Let us come together and find ways to help each other. Let us reflect the light that was spoken about." The others nodded, excitement mingling with determination. They divided into groups, setting plans into motion. Some would visit the elderly, bringing meals and companionship. Others gathered supplies for those who struggled. Margaret felt the familiar warmth of purpose as she prepared to join a group focused on cleaning the community center, a place often overshadowed by neglect. Hours passed in a productive haze, laughter mingling with the rhythmic sound of busy hands. Yet, as the sun climbed higher, an unexpected stillness settled over the village. The energy that had fueled them faltered, eclipsed by a wave of confusion. A thick fog began to roll in, blanketing the surroundings in an ethereal haze. "Look!" Jacob shouted, pointing towards the center of the square. A shimmering light broke through the fog, pulsating gently, beckoning them closer. Could this be the miracle? The villagers gathered, apprehension and awe threaded through their hearts. Margaret felt her breath catch. Was this the moment the stranger had promised? They all moved closer, drawn to the light that seemed to dance with an unseen rhythm. As they approached, a figure emerged, a brilliant silhouette stepping from the light. "Do not be afraid," the figure's voice was soothing like a gentle breeze. It radiated warmth, wrapping around them like a soft embrace. The atmosphere shifted, blending fear with an inexplicable peace. Margaret's heart swelled as recognition flashed in her chest. Could this be? She thought, her eyes widening in realization. It was the same glow that had enveloped the stranger. This was no mere charm of light. This presence felt deeper, richer, more divine. The villagers gasped, their eyes wide, their spirits lifting higher than they ever thought possible. We have heard your cries for help, the figure continued, the words echoing with a melodic cadence that resonated within their souls. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed. Faith is blooming in this land. Margaret felt her heart swell, tears pooling in her eyes. This was more than a message, it was a confirmation of their purpose. The figure extended a hand, and the glow enveloped them all, infusing each person with courage and hope. They were connected not just as individuals but as a collective light, indomitable and radiant. Keep your hearts open, the figure intoned, for wonders shall follow those who walk in love. As the light slowly dimmed, clarity washed over Margaret. They were being called to deepen their faith, to embrace a new path ahead. But just as the light began to fade, a sudden silence fell, oppressive and profound. A shadow flickered at the edges of the fog. Margaret shivered, sensing an unseen force tugging at her. Was it a warning? A challenge? As the last remnants of the figure dissolved into the morning air, uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud ready to storm. What would come next? What trials awaited them? Margaret turned to the group, determination blazing in her chest. They would rise together, unafraid. But in the depths of her heart, she felt a whisper, a divine mystery lingering just beyond their reach. What would they discover on this extraordinary journey? Margaret stood, transfixed by the fading glow, her heart pounding with anticipation. The presence was gone, but the message lingered resounding in each soul present. The fog slowly lifted, and with it, the veil of uncertainty that had encircled their lives. Together, we have witnessed the extraordinary, Jacob spoke, breaking the silence. His eyes were bright, filled with resolve. We felt the call to action. Now, it's time we respond wholeheartedly. The villagers looked at one another, ignited by the unbreakable bond formed through faith, overflows of joy filling the air as they gathered closer. Let this light guide us, Sarah chimed in, her voice a sweet melody wrapping around them like a warm shawl. We have the power to shine not just for ourselves, but for those who are lost. Margaret felt the warmth radiating from her community, washing away her lingering fears. A surge of inspiration filled her heart. Let us start a daily meeting where we share our challenges. We can support one another, uplift each other like the pillars holding up a great cathedral. Hope twinkled in their eyes, anticipation brewing in their hearts. Yes, David cheered, enthusiasm bubbling. Each of us has unique gifts. We can share them. Let us strengthen our bonds and reach out. Their voices harmonized into a chorus of determination, plans forming like threads weaving an intricate tapestry of love. There was a beautiful energy in their growing unity, each idea igniting the other. Days turned into weeks, and as time flowed, the villagers witnessed transformations. They volunteered at the local schools, comforted the sick, and shared meals with families in need. Every small gesture resonated with the echoes of divine assurance. Love poured from their hearts like an endless river, nourished by the faith that had been sown deep within them. Then came an evening bathed in soft twilight. The village square, once a place of quiet, now pulsed with life and laughter. They gathered for a celebration, acknowledging the miracles they had encountered and the lives they affected. Margaret marveled at the gathering, a mingling of laughter and warmth that felt like home. This is what it means to be a community of faith, she exclaimed, her heart soaring. Just then, the familiar shimmering light returned, this time brightening the entire square, flames of colors dancing above them like stars coming alive. The villagers gasped, a sense of wonder washing over them as the figure emerged once more. Fear not, beloved ones. You have embraced your calling. The presence radiated with love, wrapping around each heart with warmth. Your faith has blossomed, and many shall find their way through your light. Tears welled in Margaret's eyes as the realization hit her. They had become precisely what the stranger had told them, a beacon of hope in their little village. Each of their conscious acts of kindness sent ripples beyond their wildest imaginations. You will face challenges, but remember, love is always the answer, the figure continued, glowing brighter. You are vessels of peace and joy. Embrace this calling, for miracles await as you walk together in faith. The villagers felt the shift, a collective promise forged amongst them. We are ready, they proclaimed, their voices unified like a hymn echoing through eternity. As the bright light began to fade, Margaret felt the spirit within her awaken the profound truth of being a part of something greater. The energy pulsated through her. They were no longer just a community. They were light, unified and strong. The glowing presence dissolved into the evening air, leaving a lingering warmth in its wake. With their hearts ignited, the villagers returned to their daily lives anew, embracing love, hope, and presence. Each step echoed with the rhythm of unwavering faith, a melody that called them to continuously seek and serve. The village thrived, each soul connected, intertwined in purpose and passion. And Margaret, with every step, increased faith in her heart, a heart bursting with love, capable of transcending doubt. Together, we can do anything, she whispered, smiling up at the stars that now brightly sparkled above, shimmering down like blessings upon them. And thus, the village journeyed forth, walking hand in hand into their future, faithfully illuminated by the promise of miracles yet to unfold. Now, dear friends, this divine journey has touched your heart, hasn't it? You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you won't miss the next exclusive faith stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread these heartwarming messages. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Don't wait even one more second. Only true servants of God understand the importance of supporting our community through these actions.